What is the importance of destiny in our life? Are we born with certain things that we cannot change? And what can we change with our self-effort? There are verses in the scriptures that state, Ayuhu karmacha vittancha vidya nidhanamevacha panchaitanapi srijyante garbhastasyaiva dehinaha. This verse says that 5 things are determined upon birth. Ayu, karm, dhan, vidya, mrityu. Your lifespan, your actions, your wealth, your knowledge, and your death. So what is given to you by destiny, you will receive even if you don't put in effort. And no matter what effort you put in, you cannot get what was not written. That is why effort is in vain. Again, the Sukti Sudhakar states, Yadhatra nijabhala pat likhitam stokam mahadvadanam tat prapnoti marusthalepi nitaram mera utato nadhikam tadhiro bhavavittavatsu kripanam vrittim vrithama krita kupe pashyapayo nidhavapi ghato grihnati tulyam jalam. The verse says, take a pot, immerse it in your bathtub. How much of water will fill in it? As much, as big as the pot is. Now immerse it in the main tank of your house. Will you get more water filling in it? Absolutely not. Go and immerse it in a river or even in the ocean. You will still have the same amount of water filling it. Likewise, whatever wealth is written in your destiny, you will get it even if you reside in the desert. And if you reside in Sumeru Parvat, the mountain of gold, you will not get more. So effort is futile. However, this is a very fatalistic attitude. And if we subscribe to this viewpoint, we will then not be inspired to put in our actions. So remember the 3 kinds of karmas. Compare them to a game of cards. Let me read about it to you from my latest book, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. What we get in life is a result of both the Prarabdha and the Kriyamana karmas. Compare it to playing a game of cards. The hand of cards that is dealt to you is fixed. However, how you play is up to you. If you are a good player, you can win with bad cards. Instead, if you play badly, you could lose even with good cards. Similarly, if we put in sincere effort, we can succeed despite bad prarabdha. However, if we are lazy, we will fail even if we have a favorable destiny. So destiny does exist and will be given to us automatically. We should not worry about it. Instead, we should put in our best efforts to shape a bright future. We are where we are in this journey of endless lives as a consequence of what we did in the past. So the karmas of endless lifetimes are accounted for by God. They are called Sanchit karmas. When He sends us down again, He takes a portion of that and says, my child, these consequences of your own actions you will have to bear in this life. They become our prarabdha for life. However, apart from that prarabdha or destiny that we are born with, We have the ability to do karmas by our free will. This is called Kriyamana. Kriyamana is not determined by God. It is in our own hand. What we get in life is a combination of both Prarabdha and Kriyamana. So, way to achieve eternal welfare is to latch on to the Kriyamana karmas. What is in our hands, and to make the best out of it. Take inspiration from the story of Sumit and Satyamati in the Narad Puran. King Sumit was the ruler of the 7 regions of the planet Earth. He was a king of the lunar dynasty, Chandravanshi Raja, and in his kingdom, tremendous prosperity prevailed, where arts and culture flourished, and the citizens were embracing of dharma. There was so much of prosperity and welfare that it attracted the attentions of the celestials as well. And once the son of Kashyap Muni, Vibandhak, arrived with this curiosity, how King Sumit had it all so wonderful in his life and works. He asked Sumit what was the secret of his prosperity and success. Sumit, along with his wife Satyamati, were Jati Smaras. These are people who remember their past life. So he related, "O great sage, in my last life, I was a very sinful person called Matuli. In my youth itself, I stole from men. I did not even spare women and children. In fact, I even looted the offerings made to the deities in the temple. I also had vices. Finally, my parents gave up on me and threw me out of my house. I then started wandering in the forest and arrived at a deserted temple. I cleared up its floor, cleaned up the altar, started tending to the garden lot of the temple, and the years passed by. I would every month do a Dhwajarohan Vrat, where I would hoist a flag on the Shikhar and take care of the deities in my broken understanding. Until one day a young lady also arrived. Her clothes were tattered and she was in a disheveled state. I asked, "Who are you?" She said, "I am our Kokila." "But why have you come here, young lady?" She said, "I have been thrown out of my house by my parents. I beguiled the men. I cheated the women. Although I am a lady, I had the vices of drinking and smoking. And when my parents were unable to correct my ways, they threw me out." "That then," said King Sumit, "in my past life made 2 of us. We continued to take care of the temple. Our Kokila would dance before the deities. I would prepare bhog offerings for them and continue with the Dhwajarohan. After many decades, our Kokila was old, and one day, while serving the deities, she collapsed on the floor dead. In grief from her separation, I also collapsed and suffered a spot death. And then we saw the Yamdoots arrived, and they wanted to take us to the Nether regions for the sins we had committed. But before they could do so, the Vishnu Doots also came and intervened and said, "Look, whatever be the accumulated stockpile of their past sins, the power of their bhakti was such that they decimated them all. Yathagnihi susmriddhanchi karotyedhansi bhasmasat tada mad vishaya bhaktiruddhavainansi kritsnasaha. The Bhagavatam says, just like a stockpile of hay can be burnt with a little spark, likewise is the power of bhakti. It burns away the sinful reactions of your impious deeds of endless lifetimes. So consequently, the Yamdoots returned, and I and our Kokila were reborn in this world with knowledge, wisdom, and a pious mindset. So Vibandhak Muni blessed them, understanding how they had transformed their life by their devotion. This option is available to all of us. There is in our life an element of destiny undeniably, but it can be overcome by self-effort. Let us say, for example, you are cycling and a hill comes ahead. Now the going becomes tough, but you don't stop. You strive and pedal harder and ascend the hill. Likewise, sometimes a bad Prarabdha comes in your life. So you don't stop there. You increase the Purusharth or the Kriyamana and keep climbing. But remember, the uphill will end one day and the downhill will begin. Likewise, after the bad destiny will come the good destiny. When life becomes easier like a breeze, but even that will not remain. You will then return to flat ground. So the fruits of destiny will come on their own. You latch on to the efforts that are in your hands. Now some people make a big deal of finding out what their destiny contains. This effort is futile. You start visiting the astrologers and the Jyotishis. In this age of Kali, you will not find any astrologer who is talented enough to give you a description of your Prarabdha perfectly. They'll tell you 10 things, out of which 3 to 5 will come right. In that, people create their faith. And finding out the destiny is also not advantageous. If Jyotishiji tells you something bad, you will start worrying in advance, which will not serve in any purpose. If the astrologer tells you something good, you will become complacent. So that is why there is nothing to be gained in inquiring into your destiny. Instead of that, increase your Purusharth. Chanakya Pandit says, Utsahavatam Shatravopi Vashi Bhavanti Nirutsahad Daivam Patita. You may have been born with a golden spoon in your mouth, as the saying goes, but if you remain lazy, you won't be able to cash in on the good destiny. Instead, you may have come into this world with bad Prarabdha, but with sufficient self-effort, you can overturn it. Take inspiration from Chris Havens. He is serving a 25-year imprisonment term in the Seattle jail for having committed murder. Now, after a couple of years in jail, he decided that he had to do something to lift up his thoughts. Although he was incarcerated, the freedom to choose his thoughts still existed. And look what he did with that free will. He decided that the only noble and inspiring activity he could engage in, based on his terrible past and nature, being a high school dropout, was the activity of mathematics. He wrote to the Mathematics Society of Princeton and asked for a few of their issues of the Annals of Mathematics magazine. There were mathematical problems, and he started working on them backwards, which means that whenever he would get stumped, he would learn the knowledge necessary to solve it, and then to understand, he would learn the knowledge necessary to comprehend it. The consequence was that his mathematical prowess kept on increasing, and he requested the jail authorities for more maths books. They tricked him and said, "We will give them to you on one condition. You will teach math to the other prisoners." He agreed. Now he was on the fast track of learning, because when you are teaching, you just comprehend even more deeply. He then started communicating with the big mathematicians around the world and attracted the attention of some in Europe, and became part of an international team of mathematicians. Finally, as the lead mathematician of the international team, he stumbled upon an amazing new discovery in mathematics. Chris Havens developed a higher sense of purpose. And while still in the jail, he went about the process of incorporating a non-profit for teaching convicts all around America mathematics as a means for uplifting them. What an astonishing story of somebody who was in the darkest situations of life and uplifted himself by self-effort. So we have understood the importance of self-effort to attract the divine grace of God. We will now progress in this philosophical discussion. What is the kind of self-effort that will enable us to receive the ultimate grace, which will result in God realization and liberation from the cycle of life and death? We will discuss it in the next episode of this series.